The Garfield movie is a movie about Garfield, hence the title. I'm glad I could explain that one for you so that you're not left wondering why the title is what it is. Chris Pratt has been voicing every cartoon character for about a decade now, and I want to say I'm tired of it. I've already been tired of it. I honestly think he was okay as Garfield. It's not the Lorenzo Music voice that I'm used to. I never watched the ones where Bill Murray was voicing him, but like considering when I was a kid, I thought Lorenzo Music was Bill Murray because I'm pretty sure Lorenzo Music voiced Bill Murray's character in the real Ghostbusters. Very similar cadences, those two, but it doesn't really bother me that much that Chris Pratt basically just voices himself. I don't know. It's weird. It's not like I'm the biggest Chris Pratt fan or anything like that, and I have gone on record multiple times saying that animated movies need to be casting veteran voice talent and not movie stars for their animation, because I generally think that, you know, voice acting is a different skill set than cinema acting, and while some movie stars are good voice actors, that doesn't mean that people who have made it their career primarily to be voice actors should get left out of the big budget animated features. And it's a problem that goes back to Aladdin when they cast Robin Williams as the genie, and it's never going away because they've figured out, hey, we can sell the movie on the star power involved in the roster. But like, I'll be real, it's a movie for kids. The kids don't care who's voicing Garfield. They want to go see a movie about a cat going on adventures, and that's kind of what this is. But then again, the kids aren't the one buying the tickets, their parents are, and the parents know who Chris Pratt is, so I don't know, there you go. None of that was about the actual movie, that was just about Chris Pratt. The movie itself is actually pretty decent. It's definitely a kid's movie, and, you know, it has that kind of, like, lowest common denominator vibe. Maybe not as egregious as, like, the Illumination movies do. It feels actually pretty similar to like the Garfield movies that I remember growing up with, the animated specials and the cartoon, right? The vibes are very similar to that. One of my biggest issues with Garfield as a character, obviously Jim Davis is just, you know, a sellout who literally just made Garfields to make as much money as possible and has merchandised him to hell and back just, you know, to squeeze every penny he can out of it. And so Garfield just has been soulless for decades. But I do remember really liking it as a kid. And like, I have gained a newfound appreciation for Garfield through Quentin Reviews. I'm sure you all know Quentin Reviews is like the biggest Garfield fan ever. And like, I'm not a Garfield fan anymore, but I can appreciate that he's a Garfield fan, kind of like how Scott Nicewander is like the number one Scooby-Doo fan, and I'm not really a fan of Scooby-Doo, but I appreciate that he is. I like watching people who really like something talk about their special interest. It's fun. And so maybe like Quentin is probably a better person to look at if you're like looking for somebody who's really passionate about Garfield to review it. From my view, it was like fine, but for Garfield, who's like the famous fat cat, they haven't drawn him fat in forever. Even in this movie, like they make a joke of it where like one of the characters is Garfield's dad, Vic, and Vic is much bigger than Garfield. He's not just fatter, he's like just his frame is a lot bigger. So you would think that Vic is the fat cat, but no, Garfield's the fat cat. Garfield's the one who's constantly eating. And there's even a moment where like they like lampshade it because they have to like squeeze through a vent, and Vic goes through perfectly fine, but then Garfield gets stuck in the vent. And Garfield even is like, how am I stuck in this vent? You're bigger than me. And then Vic goes, am I? So, you know, like they were obviously acknowledging the fact that Garfield, for being a famous fat cat, hasn't been drawn fat in forever. He's just been drawn with a little pot belly. But beyond that, he's just not. Like if you look at classic, like the original Garfield strip, this is a fat cat, right? That is a fat cat. But if you like look at the way Garfield is drawn now, it's just he's nowhere near that. It doesn't really sell to me. He's not really fat, he eats a lot. And that's not like a specific critique of this movie, that's just a general critique of the way that Garfield is drawn and portrayed. So this movie just kind of lampshades it. But, you know, Paca says the Garfield cartoons of the 80s were a highlight of my childhood. Oh, yeah, no, like when I was a kid growing up, I loved Garfield. I had so many of those. I think we just kept checking them out from the library, all of the little trade collections of, you know, this year's collection of Garfield comics. Winelby says they took his sauce away, he's sauceless. Yeah, like, well, and that's the corporate sellout, the thing that Jim Davis has done, right? Like, I don't even think Jim Davis is drawing or writing the newspaper strip anymore. I think he's just offloaded that job to other people. I think Jim Davis's job is counting his millions of dollars, which is a shame because I don't know. I think there was a period where Garfield was a good comic strip. Maybe that period is when you're a kid. Anyway, if you're a parent, this is a fine movie to take your kids to. As far as Garfield projects go, it's pretty decent. It's just, is Garfield still relevant to the 21st century American? Hey, thanks for watching. Your view means a lot. Don't forget to toss me a like and subscribe and ring the bell and drop a comment below telling me what you thought of the video. I stream Mondays and Fridays at 5 p.m. Pacific, so catch me live and join in on the convo. You can find all my socials in the description below, and thank you to all my patrons with a very special shout out to my Whale Shark tier patrons Ms. Milena and Hella Vitrum, and my Anemone Friend tier patrons Piftle Cakes and Geek Filter. Your support means the world. Catch you next time.